I'm President John Henry Eden, and you're listening to Enclave Radio, the voice of warmth and reason in this cold, unreasonable world.
Fallout was developed and published by Interplay Entertainment in 1997. It was an open-world post-apocalyptic role-playing game serving as the spiritual successor to their previous game, Wasteland. Even though Fallout eventually became its own unique game, it was in the beginning developed as an official sequel to Wasteland, and thus the two games share a lot of similarities. Game developer Tim Kaine is largely responsible for the game's creation, as he alone developed many of the game's early mechanics and even the game's engine before assembling a team. With the release and success of Blizzard's Diablo, Interplay wanted to turn Fallout into a real-time online multiplayer game, but Kaine, among others, refused, and after some debate, Fallout stayed true to its original story-driven single-player format. In 1997, after 3 years in development, Fallout, a post-nuclear role-playing game, was released and became an instant success. The following year, the game received a sequel in the form of Fallout 2. Beginning in 2004, Interplay got into some legal issues and faced bankruptcy. In an attempt to save the company, they sold the rights for the entire Fallout franchise to Bethesda Game Studios. Bethesda set out to completely revamp the series and moved away from the isometric turn-based gameplay the Fallout games had so far been known for. Instead, Fallout 3 was a first- and third-person real-time combat action RPG. Before Bethesda acquired the rights to the Fallout franchise, Interplay and Black Isle Studios worked on a third Fallout game only known by its project name Van Buren. It followed the same style as Fallout 1 and 2 in that the game was isometric and turn-based, instead of the open-world environment Fallout 3 would later introduce. And they got really far into development as well. It's been said that the Jefferson engine, created specifically for this game, was 95% complete when the game was cancelled back in 2003. However, some of the content did not go to waste, as it was later used in Fallout New Vegas. For example, Caesar's Legion, The Burned Man, and Big MT. So many characters, locations, buildings, anything really, are based on or inspired by things from the real world. Some are obvious Easter eggs, while others are more difficult to spot. There's so much of this stuff in the Fallout games that it could almost be an entire episode on its own. But let's cover a few of them at least. In the first Fallout, you can sometimes randomly encounter an old-fashioned British police box. If the player tries to approach this box, it will slowly begin to fade away. This is of course a reference to the time travel machine featured in Doctor Who. In Fallout 3, you can find a weapon named Callahan's Magnum, which is an exact replica of the gun used in the Dirty Harry movies. At the exact center of the map in Fallout 3, you'll find a post with a sign that reads TES-04. This is a reference to the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, also developed by Bethesda. In Fallout 3, you can find this monument, which is a reference to Interplay and the logo they used in Fallout 1 and 2. Mr. New Vegas in Fallout New Vegas is voiced by Wayne Newton, who is known as Mr. Las Vegas in real life. Benny, also from New Vegas, is based on real-life American mobster Benjamin Bugsy Siegel. Indiana Jones' remains can be found inside a fridge, mocking a scene from the fourth installment where Indiana Jones survives a nuclear blast by hiding inside a fridge. In Nipton, you'll find two shard skeletons with the names Owen and Beru. This is a morbid reference to a scene in Star Wars when Luke Skywalker returns home to find the burned corpses of his Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. You know how in many trailers, endings and art for the games, the protagonist can be seen walking alongside Dogmeat? Well, this was inspired by the movie Mad Max 2. In fact, the entire franchise was heavily inspired by the Mad Max universe, especially the movies featuring Mel Gibson. Another example is the leather armor used by the main characters that was designed based on the one Mel Gibson used in the movies. In Fallout 3, there's a quest called the Power of the Atom. It revolves around the town Megaton and more specifically the unexploded atomic bomb located at the town center. Now, during the quest, the player is normally given the choice of detonating the bomb instead of disarming it, thus receiving a lot of negative karma. However, in the Japanese version of the game, this option is not available for, well, obvious reasons. One of the most popular soft drinks in the Fallout universe is Nuka-Cola. It is obviously based on the real-world Coca-Cola. In Fallout, Nuka-Cola was invented in 2044 by a man named John Caleb Bradberton. Now, what's interesting about this name is that John Caleb Bradberton is an amalgamation of the inventors of Coca-Cola and Pepsi, named John Pemberton and Caleb Bradham, respectively. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, there's a weapon called the Fat Man, which is a tactical nuclear catapult. In more simple terms, you can shoot nukes from your frickin' shoulder. The name is taken from the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki, Japan at the end of World War II. This thing is obviously not real, though, right? Well, it does kind of exist in real life. It was based on the very real weapon called the M28, M29, or simply the Davy Crockett.
The Davy Crockett. The round was set for a low height of burst. It detonated perfectly, releasing its lethal radiation.
It could fire a small atomic round, releasing extreme and deadly amounts of radiation. It was developed during the Cold War and was deployed with US Army forces between 1961 and 1971. The biggest difference is that in the game the weapon is shoulder-mounted, while in real life it stands on a tripod. If you play and complete the original Fallout and then wait for the end credits to start rolling, try typing boom and this will happen. The guy whose head is exploding is none other than the creator of Fallout himself, Tim Kaine. During the opening of Fallout New Vegas, you're shown ink blots in order to determine your mental health. Some players thought that one of the ink blots looked like two bears high-fiving, but this was sadly not an option in the game. So, as with every popular game on PC, a mod was created specifically to include the option of two bears high-fiving. This opinion got popular enough that when Obsidian developed and released the DLC Honest Hearts, they referenced this turn of events by adding a character named Two Bears High-Fiving. In Fallout 2, there's a religious sect called the Hubologists, who believe in the religion of Hubology. They can be found in the former city of San Francisco and was founded by a man named Dick Hubble. This is all a parody of the real-world religion of Scientology, which was founded by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. It even parodies famous Scientology advocate Tom Cruise and his wife at the time, Nicole Kidman, in the form of two characters named Juan Cruz and Vicky Goldman. Officially, the vaults in the Fallout universe were shelters designed to protect the American population from a nuclear holocaust. However, with a population of almost 400 million by 2077, Vault-Tec would need to build around 400,000 vaults that could shelter 1,000 people each. This was all a facade. The government and Vault-Tec never actually believed this would happen and only built 122 vaults. Not in an attempt to save humanity, but as social experiments on pre-selected segments of the population to see how they would react to the extreme conditions of living in complete isolation. Given these experiments, a few vaults in Fallout has some pretty interesting and bizarre stories to tell. In Vault 6 and 12, small amounts of radiation was continuously leaked into the vault until its residents eventually turned into ghouls. This eventually transformed into the ghoul-infested town of Necropolis featured in the first Fallout. 999 men entered Vault 68, but only one woman. Vault 69 is its counterpart with 999 women, but only one man. Neither vault lasted very long though, as the unbalanced population was unable to reproduce. Vault 77 contained only one man and a crate full of puppets. It was an experiment to observe the human condition in complete isolation. After only 1 hour, the man now known as Puppet Man was pounding on the vault doors, screaming that he was the only one there. After a few months, the puppet started talking to him and he only continued his descent into insanity. Vault 106 experimented with psychoactive drugs and their effects on the human mind in this enclosed space. The population swiftly descended into insanity, and when the player finally gets there, the drug is still pumped into the vault, causing hallucinations. The remaining population of the vault has gone completely insane, attacking anyone on sight. Vault 108 was special for the fact that it had a cloning facility. This quickly got out of hand, however, as clones became very aggressive against non-clones. When the player arrives, only clones named Gary remains. Upon arriving at Vault 11, the inhabitants were told by a computer that they must sacrifice one person per year or everyone would die. The decision process was settled by a democratic voting system, and life continued as normal inside the vault. Well, except for the killing one person every year part. After a while, some people wanted a lottery instead of a democracy, and arguments quickly turned violent. People started killing each other, and at the end of it all, only 5 remained. These 5 survivors made a pact to commit suicide together and refused to sacrifice any one person. Only then was it revealed that they had been living a lie. A year had passed and no one died because that was exactly what the computer wanted. The computer simply wanted them to defy the rules. Knowing that these years of sacrifice had been for nothing, 4 out of the 5 survivors decided to commit suicide anyway. The remaining Vault Dweller then left Vault 11, and his identity has since never been revealed.
When the night is calm and peaceful, loving hearts are all in tune. There's 2 lonesome people in the whole wide world. That's me and the man in the moon.